Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here.
And this is Brandon.
And we are back with another video from Fanboys Forever. It has been a while since we've gotten to do one of these great discussion videos.
Yes.
So I'm really excited, Brandon, that you're getting to join me in one of these.
I am very excited to be back and really excited for tonight's topic. I've just been thrilled to death, not only to see this, but to get a chance to discuss it for a long time. So.
Well, it's one of those things that affected me and Brandon's early lives a lot. Had a big influence on us. Mm-hmm. And so we're really, really excited to get right into it. Today's topic is none other than the 1990 or 1992, depending on which version you're watching, Captain America film from Albert Pyun. And this movie was, to put it nicely, lambasted over the years.
Yeah.
It's definitely been made fun of.
It's been the butt of many a joke.
Yes.
For sure.
And it's a movie that we have actually enjoyed for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
We've always had a soft spot for it. But we've had the opportunity to view from the newly formed Yippee-Ki-Yay video that's kind of unearthing some of Albert Pyun's original versions of his movies and things and doing some releases. Shout out to them. They are now offering the director's cut of Captain America, which is something that has been made from Albert Pyun's own reels that he actually owned before he passed away. So his widow has been able to get these transferred.
Absolutely look that up if you want some more information on it. Really cool how this all managed to come together. That's kind of the basics.
America's favorite superhero explodes onto the screen, waging a war on today's criminals. Canon Films presents a live-action version of Captain America.
Film was shot in '89, intended for release, I guess, in '90, completed in '90, and then not released in the U.S. until '92. Direct-to-video, of course.
Direct-to-video.
Video and Laserdisc.
Yes. This is an actual poster that hung in a video store in 1992. I found it on eBay and just had to get it framed and everything, and it's an awesome poster. I've always loved this, which brings me back to kind of our origins with the movie. Just real quick, this is the actual home video copy right here that I rented at my video store the first time I saw it. I bought it from that rental place a long time ago. And Brandon?
And I happen to have my childhood copy right here too.
Yeah. So these are the real deal, the genuine article. It's a lot of fun to have this stuff, especially an important relic like this from my childhood. I was scared to death of this movie the first time I tried to watch it when I was a kid because I was really sheltered.
Yeah.
And it had kind of some really violent moments near the beginning that scared the life out of me.
Would you say you were about 7, 8?
Yeah, I was about 7 or 8. I was really sheltered. I'd never seen an R-rated movie, that wasn't edited for television. So it scared me to death when they killed the Red Skull's family when he was a little boy.
That's pretty. It's a pretty harsh way to open the movie.
Yeah. And Cap gets shot up with the blood everywhere, and the origin story. I mean, it was really frightening for me. So, but I always loved just seeing it out in the video store.
I was a little older than that the first time I saw it. It was probably 99. I can't remember 100%. So I was 10 or 11 the first time that I saw it. And I was aware of it. To let you know how much of a joke this movie was, there were jokes about it in Marvel Age.
Oh, yeah.
Marvel's own
fan
magazine that they did. And so I was aware of it, but I'd never seen it. I'd never seen it available for rent anyway. I probably would have really tried very hard to rent it if I'd seen it before. Again, it's almost cliche to say, but you have to put yourself in context. There was so little as far as comic book movies go, especially Marvel movies at the time. You had the TV stuff and Blade, and that was really it. Howard the Duck.
And this brings me to those early 90s times. For 1990, 91, that was when I was first getting into Marvel. And what's interesting is the big merchandise push that you see right here. And this is some of the stuff that came out in 1990. So you've got the Marvel Superheroes line from Toy Biz. You've got Bendham's figures, which was really big with me because I could actually find those at retail at the time. You had a Hardy's Marvel promotion.
Again, in the context of that time, you had the Punisher movie with
Punisher.
Dolph Lundgren in '89. There was just a huge swath of Punisher merchandise. There was a battle van vehicle playset for the toy lines. This was a huge time of marketing for Marvel Comics as a brand.
This was their moment to expand the brand. To have Captain America, which to me was probably the flagship of all of that stuff, all of their efforts, it fell apart. It was not a success. And the movie did not turn out as well as it should have. Before we can discuss that Pyun cut, though, with that released version in 1992, the one that we got on video, does have kind of a complicated legacy because there's so much bad about the movie, but there's so much good.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like the conversation, I honestly think a lot of people who talk about the movie and make fun of the movie probably haven't actually watched it.
At least not intently.
Right.
They've seen pictures or they've seen clips or they remember maybe catching it. I don't think this...
I never saw it on television.
I never saw this movie on TV.
I'm sure a lot of people, are rolling their eyes. I can't believe these guys are going to try to defend this movie a little bit. I want to start by talking about the bad on this movie that has a very goofy tone throughout. And it's weird because you've got a tonal mismatch with the way the movie is shot and a lot of the content of the movie, because you have this goofiness that's in the music interspersed with like an R-rated kind of feel throughout the movie. So they clash. The music is the main culprit of how goofy.
It's very stock, very
synthesizer
TV commercial kind of music.
Yep.
The score of the commercially
Super
released
90s.
version is very cheap sounding. Not to condemn anybody. They had no money, I'm sure.
Right.
Had very little time, I'm certain, and that's just kind of what you got.
Another thing is, the characters are really underdeveloped in the movie. It starts off really interesting with some really cool origin stuff for me. And then the characters don't have a lot of depth to them later. You see Cap, he's kind of sad, but they kind of skip over a whole lot of that.
The released version of the film gives you no breathing room.
Right.
And I'm sure that their intention was to just make it as quick cut and dynamic as they possibly could. But that fails the material, and we'll get into this later, of course, that fails the material the way that it was intended and the way that it was shot. It's not a movie that's intended to be like that. It
at all.
Really is meant to take its time. It's one of the movie's biggest failings.
A whole bunch of strange plot holes in the released version that I never even knew to look for until I saw the Pyun cut. Even things like the ending credits of the movie with the illustration of Captain America, which is fine.
Yeah. The weird close-up of Salinger turning to camera, and he just looks.
He
looks like he's been caught.
They tried to Superman the movie thing.
Yeah,
it was not good.
No.
It's so weird. Moments in the movie, like I was talking about the tonal whiplash thing. You've got these moments where there's this really graphic kind of violence, or really graphic implied violence, or even shown violence, which is really rough. But silly fights and things where it's bloodless, and it's like there's two different movies competing for the same runtime.
Yeah, very much so.
So now let's definitely talk about the good, because that's, I think, people aren't really used to any commentators or talking heads on the internet talking about
defending
anything
it,
good, defending it or whatever. And I'm not here to try to convince you that released cut is a good movie. Okay, that's the last thing in the world.
Secretly brilliant.
Yeah, it's not secretly brilliant.
I would call it underrated.
It is underrated.
Much as
yes.
Most people hate it, and it's actually not bad.
I would say that for me, Matt Salinger is very serviceable with his performance, especially as Steve Rogers. There's some awkwardness about Captain America a lot of the times, but I think that has more to do with the way the mask fits over his face.
Yeah.
As Steve Rogers, he's really earnest and haunted a lot of the time, which is so much more apparent in the cut we're getting ready to talk about. I think Scott Pollan is I'm not sure anyone could argue that he is not an incredible Red Skull.
He's so good. Absolutely.
I just love what he did, with the voice, what they did with the look.
Do you think I could be president of the United States someday?
Which we discovered recently that the guy who did the makeup for the movie was hugely prolific in the industry.
Oh, yeah, multi-Academy Award winning makeup artist. And
so there's a reason that looks really good. Don't kid yourself, because the old makeup in the movie and Red Skull is incredible.
I'm going to say it. The look of Red Skull in this movie, I like more than the MCU Red Skull.
Oh, me too. Yeah, easily. And he has a nose and everything, and I could care less.
Yeah.
Because the prosthetics are awesome.
You just got, there's realities you have to work with, with a human actor underneath the makeup. But, I think it looks great. I think his outfit looks great.
Yep, the outfit's cool.
And in a funny way, some of the decisions they made, I don't think they informed, but they wound up inadvertently paralleling some of the things that they did with the Red Skull in the MCU.
Sure.
Obscuring his, the red face and everything through big chunks of the story and all that.
The other big thing about the movie that I love is the supporting cast.
That's by a mile, that's my favorite part of the film. If you like Captain America as a character, then you probably also love Superman the movie, and you got Ned Beatty.
Yep.
And you probably like RoboCop, and you got Ronnie Cox, and you probably like Kolchak the Night Stalker, and there's Darren McGavin. And Melinda Dillon from A Christmas Story is also in the film. So
it's amazing they were able to get these guys for
knockout.
like a really low budget movie.
Yeah.
All of them are incredible. I mean, really, I especially love the Darren McGavin stuff in the movie. Because he is just really, he's super funny, for one thing.
He's chewing it up pretty hard.
Yeah.
McGavin obviously understood the assignment.
Really?
One of the funniest things in the whole movie, which is Cap saying that he thinks he's sick, and then he steals Ned Beatty's car.
Would you pull the car over, please? I think I'm going to be sick.
What?
And Red Letter Media and everybody's laughed so hard at that. It is really funny, like truly, and it was supposed to be funny. That's what I do. I think that people are almost of the opinion that it's not supposed to be a joke.
Don't leave me out here!
Yeah.
But it kind of reminds me of Low Blow's car not starting. It's supposed to be stupid and funny. So I do like that. Captain America's costume to me is it's pretty much an untouchable piece of design. If you look at what Jack Kirby and Joe Simon, what they cooked up, to me it's unimpeachable. It's the best thing that's been done with the flag since the actual flag was sewn together. And this movie has got it. To me, and I know that everybody says the costume is so silly.
But dump all over it.
But hold on just a minute, because this is what I saw in the video store. And this, to me, looked incredible. And whoever took this promotional photo, they made this suit look like it was supposed to look through the whole movie. And it doesn't look like this through the whole movie.
No.
But the idea and the concept of the suit is a near perfect Captain America costume for the movie screen.
I mean, again, imagine being a comic book superhero kid walking through the video store and seeing just this box,
It took my breath away as a kid to see it. And then on the back, you see even more cool stuff. The whole problem is, of course, everybody talks about the rubber ears. I don't care. Most of the time, you wouldn't ever be able to tell that those are rubber ears. What I think the real problem is the mask smushes Matt Salinger's nose down, like, unnaturally. And I'll tell you, it's just like this funny hoodie thing that I've got. Like, it comes with a cat mask, but look what happens when there's... I have to take my glasses off. When there's no support or, like, face shell, look what happens. It's like,
look just like the movie serial.
It's like all over the place. This right here, this is like webbing, and like the eye holes do weird things and all this. That is exactly what happened to Matt Salinger in the movie.
And as a consequence of it being basically a one-piece suit.
Yes.
And this is an issue with like the early Batman rubber suits, the Keaton suits. The neck meets the torso of the suit in a very awkward way, so it never looks quite right, and you get just these weird folding and stuff, and the bodysuit always looks pretty good. The mask, certain shots looks terrific, but for the most part, it just always looks off.
It's like, usually if you can get a shot of him looking up, it looks good. And that's why I think they have him posed like that here. There is one shot near the end of the movie, in the final battle, where Cap is jumping up like a flight of stairs at the castle, and he looks straight up, and it always looked really good there. And they've used that as a promotional still, like in the past. Pyun had stated that he really wanted to use the U.S. agent costume for Captain America, the black, red, and white costume. And, here's a little mock-up I did of how that might have looked. And that could have been pretty cool, but I'm really glad that Marvel forced him to use the original costume, because even if it didn't quite turn out in some ways, I still think it's cool that they have, by far, the most comic book accurate version of Cap's costume.
And again, you got to consider, this is the follow-up to and I like Reb Brown as an actor.
Sure.
Those movies aren't very good. I mean, that's putting it politely. You think about how not good that especially in the first movie, that costume is bad.
Is awful.
It totally misses the mark. It betrays the iconic nature of that suit. Think of it in context of, that's your Captain America you had. That's the Captain America I'd seen in the movies before I ever got to see this movie. And, that, by comparison, this costume blows it out of the water.
Oh, absolutely. There are some excellent, and I mean truly excellent, Pyun fight scenes in the movie that are cut together like beautifully and have some crazy editing. He takes very few resources that he had, and he does gangbusters with them.
And that's the key. When you're a low-budget filmmaker and you've got a low budget to work with, the only weapon you've got is creative shooting and good editing. Which I know he didn't edit this commercially released version,
right.
but this material comes from his cut.
Most of it is untouched,
yeah.
the parts from it, you know. But there's just big chunks
just
taken out and
rearranged,
rearranged.
yeah, and all that. And a very talented filmmaker in that way.
That's enough, you clown.
So we've kind of covered what we feel about this, you know, commercially released version that came out in '92. It is underrated, but the released version really isn't why we decided to make this video. It is to celebrate the release of the Pyun cut of Captain America. Now, for a few years there was a Pyun cut floating around where Albert Pyun basically went through and tried to re-edit the released version to make it more like his cut, but he didn't have access to all the material and everything. But his widow had always had those film reels that he kept, and they were able to get it transferred. This, of course, new company that we have that did this unofficial release here, as you can see, we have some nice painted cover art that they commissioned, and each one is individually numbered. I think they did somewhere around 1,000 of them. I have number 423. They also include this, the yippee-ki-yay-mother-video.com right here. So you can see if you want to go there and check them out yourself. Of course, this isn't provided to me or sponsored in any way. I bought it. It was a little steep in its price, but when you're buying something like this, it's such a limited release and it's not from any kind of big company, then you're probably going to have to pay a little more.
This is a true boutique product. I mean, it's very
Absolutely.
specialty, and obviously literally limited.
You even get this cool little thing, the Pyuniverse, the Albert Pyun film universe, and the Masters of the Universe Classics font, mind you. So I'm a big fan of that.
Yes.
And I did tell them I was going to be doing this review, so they could be looking out for it, because I do want to support these guys. I think this is a very honorable initiative. So what I have here is a little thing they wrote down for me. Their release schedule is as follows. Their first release, of course, was Captain America, the Pyun cut. But their second release is going to be Road to Hell. 3 is Interstellar Civil War. 4 is Cyborg. 5 is a surprise filmmaker. Number 6 is More Pyun. And number 7 is More Pyun. So this is going to be an interesting label, something to keep an eye out for. Of course, there are a lot of dedicated fans out there to Albert Pyun's work.
And Cyborg is a must for any
Absolutely.
Masters of the Universe fan.
There's such an interesting history there. Me and Brandon actually got to watch the Pyun cut. I want to start with how we watched it.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
yeah.
we had a time. We wanted to make it a big deal.
Yes.
You know, this was a premium. This is not the kind of experience you're ever going to get from a Fathom event or anything like
Right.
that, but we wanted to make it as cinematic as possible. So Jared was able to procure a massive inflatable outdoor drive-in style screen, and we set it up, got the soundbar ready, hooked up the PlayStation, and we had a big outdoor viewing a couple weeks ago now. And man, it was just, I think it really heightened the mood of the film.
It made it really seem like we were at like a drive-in in 1990, you know, like watching this thing.
Yeah, a real what if. Yeah.
It was kind of weird.
It was, yeah. It was it was a little macabre. It was a little
strange.
unsettling. Yeah.
Yeah. But, man, so cool. So cool. Great experience.
No better way to have seen it, I don't think.
I want to start with just the good, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much to talk about that is good or is an improvement here, and not a whole lot to complain about. With the good, for me, there is a choice made right away at the beginning of the movie, you'll know immediately, to do a non-sequential telling of this whole story. And what's interesting is I don't believe that the actual shooting script by Stephen Tolkien, I don't think it was like this. I think it was sequential. I think Pyun actually decided to cut it in a way that was non-sequential because he thought it was more interesting. And I mostly agree with him on that after seeing them side by side.
I was shocked at just how non-linear it was. I had an awareness that his intended version was not told in sequence, but I really was shocked when I saw it. I was like, wow, this, and it works. It works extremely well, I think, with the material. But I was really astonished, I would say, again, at just how nonlinear it was.
It's very bold.
I've said it differently 3 ways, but it's a shock.
No way did that just happen.
I mean, now the movie opens up with the president when he's a kid, and he's in Washington D.C. and hears the rocket, and sees Cap go overhead, and then Cap gets buried in the ice.
It's a good punchy opening that's not the Red Skull's family getting murdered. I think it opens with the same energy, the dramatic energy and that good punch, but it's not mortifying.
Maybe I wouldn't have been so horrified as a child if it opened with that and then led into via flashbacks to explain all the stuff from the past as the movie unfolds in 1990 or whatever, that it's supposed to be happening in.
That's a funny point. It's ambiguous. There are times in the film they reference it as being the 80s, and then other times you see it dated and it's supposed to be 92
it's a little strange.
Or 93, something like that.
But it is really artistically effective, and especially stuff with the Red Skull's backstory. Because now, especially in the middle, you get a really much more deep fleshing out of Steve's struggles to cope with living in 1990 or whatever.
One of my major criticisms of the commercially released version is that it just has no time to breathe. It doesn't feel. It's too quick, which works okay in terms of pacing. But man, you really get a chance to sit with Steve and how he's feeling about this. The released version makes it feel like the middle of the film takes place over 48 hours, or
right.
From the time that Steve wakes up to the finale seems like it's just a few days.
Yeah, just 2 or 3 days.
But it's apparent that he's around in the present day for months, weeks at least, in this version, and you really get a chance to see him process a lot more of it, and it works very well.
There's even stuff, of course, in the released version of the movie, his sweetheart Bonnie. We of course see her, that actress, in old makeup and things, and it's really good old makeup. It's very effective, but that's about his only connection to the past that we see in terms of a person and the president and things, and Ned Beatty's character. But with this version of the movie, his old general, the guy with the pencil black mustache that's in charge of him in all the flashback stuff. He is now represented by the same actor in a nursing home with old makeup in this really, really wild, deep, and really dark scene that kind of predates some of the things they ended up doing in the MCU with Peggy Carter.
Yep.
Steve Rogers, sir. Captain America.
But they also have Steve Rogers get a job at Gold's Gym.
Yes, which was really wild. I didn't see that coming.
Very Superman 4, where Clark is trying to work out.
No pain, no gain.
Yeah.
No pain, no gain.
The other thing is now there's lots and lots of scenes where you see that the Red Skull isn't just this mustache twirling villain. He's an awful person, but you can also see that he is so disturbed and messed up from his origin that he's kind of unraveling as he's becoming an old man. Now you have all these scenes where he just kind of, drops out, disassociates for a minute, and has flashbacks about his family getting killed. And then he goes and he's trying to play the piano because, Cap caused him to cut his own hand off in the movie, which is a fun scene for the whole family, as the poster says. Top-rate entertainment.
The other big one that we mentioned is, I don't know if it's ever made apparent at all in the released version. I've watched it a dozen times, and I never caught it onto this, but you'll see as part of the sabotage of the super soldier process a young
a general, or
army officer in the story, and it's played by Bill Mumy from Lost in Space. That character is the younger version of the Darren McGavin character.
Yeah.
So it plants the seed that he's been a saboteur and a betrayer since the 1940s, and that makes it much more interesting. And his motivations in the present day, it's a great, he's
been working with the Red Skull.
Exactly, and it makes it that much more apparent, and it pays off.
They even do this cool performance thing where Mumy and Darren McGavin both, whenever they're nervous, do this thing with their ear where they pull it. And McGavin even does it when he's doing the fake speech on TV about how they're all worried about the president not making it back home, and he's like, "It's going to be a long night." Some of the best stuff in the whole movie. That is a great point you bring up. I'm glad you did. What do you think about the music in this new version?
My first, and Jared reiterated this as soon as I said it. I got about 10 minutes into the movie, and I was like, "This music sounds just like Day of the Dead." I love it. It is so somber. It's so, macabre is a word that I would use to describe it. It very much reflects that idea of a man lost in time. Not so much that it's a downer or depressing necessarily, but it's very reflective. You know, it's the kind of thing
I would say it is a downer and
Well,
depressing. That's just from my perspective. It does make the movie kind of a downer.
Well, and that is to say, this film in general, it's not so happy-go-lucky.
No. Changing the music changed the identity of the movie dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of benefits in the movie from just like patching up plot holes.
Mm-hmm. The intention, I'm sure, with that commercially released version was just gotta get it quick.
The ending of the movie is a lot more emotional and a lot more interesting because essentially, we can't really say this word for the purposes of the algorithm or YouTube video, but Red Skull intentionally unalives himself by Captain America because he doesn't want to live anymore. After everything falls apart. Haven't we always said that there's an implication in the release cut that when Cap throws his shield and he tells the Red Skull's daughter, hey, heads up.
Heads up.
Doesn't it imply that he cuts her head off?
Oh, yeah.
Or, kills her?
I'm sure she's dead.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
Cap would never, in a million years, do something.
He might unalive her if he had to.
There's nothing like that in this. Pyun, you can look into this a little deeper if you want to, but they made him go back and do the reshoot stuff about the music box that Cap discovers and then plays for the Red Skull, and because they weren't happy, and Red Skull has a bomb and all this.
And
so.
I mean, to be fair, whether or not it matches the tone of the film and the nature of the film, as it was their intention in this release was that it be a children's film, top-rated entertainment for the entire family. The Red Skull's fate in the director's cut is very between the lines. There's no way I would have been able to understand what was going on when I was a kid. If I was
it is pretty
10 years old,
artsy in a way. Yeah, so.
Very much so. I get their intention of we have to make this evident. We have to have some tangible thing that sets the Red Skull off.
But like you had said earlier, the last note I had was I was really glad to see that bizarre ending shot of Cap taken out of the movie where he turns around and goes,
yeah.
oh yeah. Something's really off about
it's not a good
shot.
It's a terrible shot of the costume. A costume that already has trouble being photographed properly.
So not everything about this cut is like perfect. There's not as much bad stuff to discuss.
No. Well, first of all, technically, there's some issues, film burns, things like that, especially audio issue. There's some audio blips and there's some poor mixing and stuff like that. I would say this is about a 90% there cut, though. Maybe 95.
Yeah,
honestly.
maybe 95.
It would take just a little ingenuity for somebody to go in and perhaps patch this up a little bit more, in the fan scene. On a technical level, this is not a pristine 100% commercial product.
The only time, though, that it really hurt the movie, I think, is in all the fight scene stuff under the 50s diner where they go back to the old lab location in the dark. That hurts the movie because it's hard to see what's going on in parts of that. And so the darkness is a little much. Other than that, I can deal with the technical things because this is an unofficial, we're putting this out here for the fans kind of thing. And they have a little disclaimer at the beginning and they let people know on the website not to expect perfect quality, you know. And so this is not a bait and switch at all. I think the other big thing, and this is something me and Brandon discussed quite a bit, is the non-sequential storytelling. Sometimes it feels like too ambitious for its own good.
It really is. It's very choppy, and I think it works. But I would be interested in showing this director's cut to somebody who's never seen the theatrical version before.
Yeah, and see if they could actually follow it.
Honestly, this very much is a companion piece more than a replacement in that way.
And it's just like you said, that this is begging for someone to go in and combine elements of that Shout Factory print and the better audio and things, combine it with this to get like that perfect, ultimate cut. I love this new minimal dark tone. It is, in my opinion, probably a little too dark for the movie that's, that we're actually seeing. Probably did need a little bit of that hopeful kind of, Captain America.
Superman the movie.
Yeah, a little Superman the movie.
Yeah.
The one like music cue I will say is superior in the released version is when he gets up out of the hospital bed.
So that missile site was?
Yeah, where
the
the
launch
missile
site was.
And it plays this da-da-da-da.
Where did you say that launch site was?
Pyun cut, there's nothing. There's just silence. And most of the movie is just silence, which I really do think speaks more to it just being kind of unfinished at that moment.
I think so, yeah.
But it did need a little bit of cheese in there, a little bit of corniness to get it, Captain America-y, and it isn't quite there for me.
Well, even just as a matter of comparison, a contrast. Most of the time the somber tone fits really well, but then you need a little bit of a pick-me-up.
Well, I think the best example of where the somber tone works, even though we're on the bad or whatever, is when they show the montage of him coming back, in the 80s or 90s, whatever you want to say, in Los Angeles, and looking around. And the released version of the movie, they play like the sappy kind of like love song over it, and it's
Memories of You.
Hey, bud. Get a cigarette?
It really takes away from what should be, a super dramatic moment. But in the actual, Pyun cut, it's actually kind of scary. Yeah. And Salinger sells it.
And that would be scary. I mean, you have to think of it in context. I think this cut of the movie really sells that.
Also, the new ending, the original ending, that Pyun created in this version, is super artsy and really cool. But I actually think that it takes away a lot of Cap's agency that the released version had with the music box. Mm-hmm. I like that scene where they go and they find the music box and they talk to the family that bought the house and all that. That I guess was all pickups and reshoots stuff.
Must have been, yeah.
And I like that Cap is ingenuitive enough to be like, I can play this. Cap would find a way to disarm the Red Skull without just flat killing him. Mm-hmm. And that is Cap being like, I know that I struggle with my past, and I know that he does too, so I'm going to use that against him. I'm going to use that as a weakness. And I kind of hate that it's not there anymore.
Yeah, I really missed it. That's the major leg up I will give the released version over this cut.
This is a release, this new Pyun cut right here that is strictly made for the fans.
This is not a casual product. This is a true enthusiast product, and God bless them.
They're doing the Lord's work as far as I'm concerned, getting this thing out there. Because Pyun, in his life, God rest his soul, he didn't get to see this released. Mm-hmm. He never even got to see those reels, again. He just had them because apparently that was one of the ways they paid him for his work in the movie is he got to keep the reels or whatever.
Probably not much on top of that either, if I had to guess.
This is pure, unfiltered Pyun. Mm-hmm. It lacks a lot of finishing touches. That pristine quality of that Shout Factory Blu-ray, you're going to miss it, especially if you watch it back-to-back like I did. It will really change the way that you watch that original release version forever.
Again, I would consider it a companion piece. I wouldn't say that it's replaced the original cut. I really can't think of many other instances of a director's cut being this different. Healthy amount of other material, unseen stuff, and some alternate takes and alternate.
If you just hate this movie, and I'm sure a lot of the folks watching probably do hate this movie. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of vitriol about this movie for years. I've never really understood it completely because I could always see what they were trying to do. I don't think that this cut is going to change those people's minds completely. I think it will make it more interesting for them, but I don't think they're suddenly going to be like, you know what, that's actually brilliant. Yeah. It does hit a lot of the same beats and everything, but I do think that you're going to have a new experience. I do think you're going to look at the movie differently, and I think you're going to appreciate it a lot more once you see Pyun's original vision, that if this version had gotten released back then, that it would have changed the conversation around this movie, and I think it would have, in some ways... It would
be more fondly remembered, I think.
It wouldn't be, people are like, you remember that really campy Captain America movie from 1992? It would be like, you remember that really weirdly dark Captain America movie that was really, that mature Captain America movie that Albert Pyun did? Man, that was wild. It would recontextualize the whole thing.
Yeah. And that's, I think, really, when you get down to it, they knew they weren't going to have Batman 89 money to make this movie. They knew they had a limited budget. And to combat that, they were going to tell an interesting character-driven story. And in Pyun's editing process, he wanted to tell it in an interesting way, present it in an interesting way. So, you didn't have tens of millions of dollars to make it big and flashy, but you could tell a good story and you could tell it interestingly.
It's President Kimball. And if this country loses Tom Kimball, it will be a disaster. Captain America, you gotta help us.
Somebody saw the material and decided to dress it up like it was a big, flashy, high-budget effects film, and it's just not that. It's really one of the ways that released version struggles. It just doesn't fit. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but give me a star rating out of 10 for the 92 commercially released version in the 1990 Albert
Oh,
Pyun.
yeah,
director's
sure.
cut.
You know, I always felt that the released version that we got, people will think I'm crazy for it. I always felt that it was pretty much like a 6 out of 10. You know, 6.5.
That is exactly 6.5 is exactly what I was thinking.
I mean, I always thought it was okay. You know, it was pretty good. I thought it was a really serviceable like origin story for Cap, told with heart, pretty earnest. You know, a little bumpy, but it was fine. This new version, what would you give this new version?
I would give this director's cut in all context. I would give it a. I'm going to land on 8.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Brandon and I maybe have been friends so long now that we now share the same brain about these things. Yeah. But I kid you not, I was going to say an 8.
I believe it,
like solidly. So that is your difference right there, folks. If you really like that original cut, like we did, we were at least partial defenders of it. Then you're gonna really love this new Pyun cut.
Thanks.
If you're somebody who hated the original, maybe you're gonna find something to appreciate here just a little bit more. And you know,
Pity him. He is like a child.
God rest Albert Pyun's soul. He gave it his very best with the very limited resources that he had to make something that I think was special to a lot of kids, not just us. It's a special project.
Absolutely.
So I consider it to be a real achievement, something that I'm proud of more than embarrassed by.
Commercially released version is a cool movie, a good movie that has moments, flashes of greatness, and the Pyun cut is a extremely good movie with flashes of brilliance.
Yes, that's a really great way to put it. I think that pretty much wraps it up for what we wanted to say about the new Albert Pyun cut. Once again, make sure that you go and visit these guys and check them out at yippee-ki-yay-mothervideo.com. It's not a paid endorsement or anything like that. I just appreciate the work that they did and wanted to promote it and get it out there so that more fans like me and hopefully like you can see this and and relive that 90s Marvel nostalgia when they tried to rule the world the first time. It was like their prototype launch of what they eventually did.
They were planting seeds.
They were, and it would all come to fruition in just a few years with the animated shows and then the live action stuff. 90s is a transformative time for Marvel. It's the lowest of lows and reaching the highest of highs. It's an exciting thing to look at this, what many would consider to be a misstep, and to get it recontextualized in this whole new way. So much out there in terms of obscure superhero media, and of course we're more than willing to discuss it.
We sure appreciate our viewers every time.
That's right.
It's always a pleasure. We'd do it if nobody was watching.
That's right.
We sit around and talk about it anyways.
This is just fun for us.
Just like to get the word out.
And on that note, we'll go ahead and end things, and we thank you for watching. And be sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff for more nerdy goodness here on Fanboys Forever. You all take care, and God bless you and yours.